year, me and a couple of buddies have decided we're gonna watch one new movie a week for the whole year based on very specific categories in order to kind of broaden our horizons and add new movies in that we haven't seen before. So here are the first 18 movies that I watched during this series. We're gonna go through them, we'll talk about the theme, why I picked the movie, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, because there are some bangers in this list, and there are some really bad ones too. So the first week, I had to watch a movie set in space. The issue is, I like space. I've seen a lot of space movies. Arrival, The Martian, Dune, Hidden Figures, Moon, Interstellar, any Star Wars, any Marvel film involving space. I mean, you name it. Interestingly enough though, I had not watched the original, the blueprint, the 2001 A Space Odyssey. So I realized this is my time to shine. This is my time to really understand why do I love these space movies. And boy, oh boy, what a movie to start this trend off with. This movie is fantastic. If you're a fan of sci-fi, even remotely, you gotta do yourself a favor and watch this film. I feel like a changed person because I watched it. I know that's so dramatic, but it's the truth. There were moments where I stopped breathing because of how beautiful it was. Stanley Kubrick, I mean, he just set expectations through the roof, and I don't know if we've ever surpassed them. I'm giving it 5 stars, of course. For the second week, I had to watch a movie starring my favorite actor, and I had to think hard about this because I don't know who my favorite actor is. There's a lot of good ones out there. Who's an actor that every time I see him, without failure, I always get excited? And to me, that's Matthew Lillard. Maybe it's because I was a big Scooby-Doo girl growing up, so I was trying to filter around, find some movies that I hadn't seen with him in it, and I found the perfect score. This is an MTV movie from the early 2000s, and it shows. Basically, it's about a group of high school kids trying to steal the answers to the SAT until they learn that the real SAT answers were the friends we made along the way. It's basically a prequel to Captain America because it has both Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans in this movie. Matthew Lillard has maybe like 5 minutes in this movie. He's the older brother to Chris Evans, gives a little bit of advice and goes on his way. This movie's pretty bad. It's trying to be cool. It's absolutely not. I'm giving it a 1.5 out of 5. Week 3, we had to move on to an African film. Now, I had no idea where to start here. So I asked some of my friends and followers on Instagram, and I got tons of results. I don't think I had seen an African movie other than District 9, so there was a lot to choose from. I eventually ended up with Atlantics. And the reason I chose this is because this film actually premiered at Cannes, and the director, Madi Diop, was the first Black woman to direct a featured film in this festival competition, which is a little concerning because this happened in 2019, and I feel like we're a little too far in the present for that to be a milestone. I'm not gonna tell you too much about this movie because I think everybody should see it, and I think you should go into it blind. It has this gothic, eerie, sorrow vibe to it. The first 2 acts may be a little slow, but once you hit that point in the 3rd act where it all comes together, it's so worth it. So I would definitely recommend this movie. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. For week 4, I had to watch a film about time travel, and if you watch my video about films I've cried to, I was hinting at this video right here, and that is because I watched About Time. Now, I love a good time travel movie. Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies, and I have so many friends talking about how good this movie was, so I was super excited. And they weren't wrong. It's a great movie. The romance is sweet, but it's the father-son relationship that really gets me here. Domhnall Gleeson as the main character is adorable in this, and I didn't really expect him to be, so that was a fun surprise. I will say there is one thing that irks me. It's just that the women in this movie are just so cast to the side, it's not even funny. So I kind of wish we had found a different way to go about it, but that's just me kind of nitpicking. I do think it's an enjoyable movie. For week 5, I had to watch a film in Letterboxd's top 50. I ended up choosing Handmaiden simply because it was the only one that I could find that I hadn't seen and is streaming. I knew nothing about this movie. Maybe that was a mistake because it really caught me off guard. It actually kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth. So the Letterboxd average of this movie is a 4.4. That is obscenely high. There are tons of 5 stars. I personally gave it a 4 star. Park Chan-wook's directing and cinematography and the way he tells this story is brilliant. I would love to see any other of his films because the way he reveals things so intentionally is something that I hadn't seen anything like before. If it were that alone, I would give it 5 stars, absolutely. The issue for me is that the premise of this film involves violent eroticism. I've read so many reviews about like why it's important and all the meanings of it, and I want to believe it, but for me, it just made me really uncomfortable. Do I think it's a well-made movie? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Not really. Before watching this movie, I would definitely check out some trigger warnings. For week 6, I had to watch a movie from the 50s. To me, this was a pretty easy choice. I picked the 1952 Singin' in the Rain, which I had not seen before. Unless if you count the Glee episode. Just singing in the rain. but I won't count that. This is just like 2001 Space Odyssey. It's a blueprint, right? I mean, it's like Jaws. It's like The Thing. I had such a great time. I was like grinning from ear to ear watching this. An absolute blast of a time. If you haven't seen this movie, I mean, it's definitely got to be top of your watch list. It's a banger for sure. Week 7, I had to watch a short film that's won an Oscar. Now there are a lot of these, and I ended up finding The Old Man and the Sea. Found it on YouTube, which means I watched it in probably the grittiest quality known to man, but it was still beautiful. They utilized this paint on glass animation, and it literally looked like I was in an art museum. I'll give this one 4 stars. Week 8, I had to watch a film less than 2 stars on Letterboxd, and this one had me so excited. There's nothing I love more than a bad movie, and so for me, I decided it was time to watch Batman and Robin from 1997. This has a 1.8 star average. It is hard to get an average that low, and I love this movie. Is it good? No, straight up 1.5 stars. It's terrible. I love it. Within the first like 30 seconds, there's like a montage of them getting ready to fight, and there's just a zoom in on Robin's butt. Also, why does George Clooney have bat nipples? I don't know. This is peak guilty pleasure. And the worst part is, I wish I could just put this in the camp category, like you don't get it, but it's not. It's not even campy. It's just that bad. I would say it's more like a fever dream straight from the 90s. Week 9, I had to watch a family member's favorite film. So I asked my mom what her favorite movie was, and we had to go through a couple of them, because of course, naturally, I've seen a lot of her favorite movies. Her first choice was Wizard of Oz, and then Sound of Music, and then Love Actually. Eventually, we landed on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, starring Jack Nicholson. It was good, 4 stars. I don't think there's anything I can say that nobody else has already said before, except maybe that I always forget that Danny DeVito was like a serious actor before joining Always Sunny. For week 10, I had to watch a German film, and this week had perfect timing because this happened right as All Quiet on the Western Front was winning like all of the Oscars. Best International Film, Best Original Score, Best Cinematography, Best Production. So it definitely had me hyped up, and I had read the book back in high school. I don't remember it. I probably just read the Cliff Notes. The thing is, I don't know why I keep watching war films and then keep being surprised that I'm emotionally shattered at the end. Like, what do I think is gonna happen? Pretty good film. I did really love the sound design, 3.5 stars. For week 11, we had to pick a film that Harvey has rated 5 stars, and Harvey, thank you so much for rating Puss in Boots 5 stars, because I needed an excuse to watch this movie, and it was great. I mean, I love that we're going in this animation style. I'm so glad Into the Spider-Verse kind of like broke out into something different. I love that we're just being creative. This movie is consistently good, right? The plot is great, the characters are great, the jokes land, but one of the most impressive parts for me was the wolf. I can't tell you animation movie that kind of made me scared, and the way that they animated the wolf like made my skin crawl. There's a reason why everybody's talking about it. It really is good. Week 12, I had to watch a movie with my least favorite actor, and I ended up landing on Mark Wahlberg. He is just so average and annoying to me. I've never really liked him in any project. I know he's been in some good movies like The Departed and Boogie Nights, and I haven't seen those, and I could have watched them, but I'm not gonna watch a movie with my least favorite actor and then watch a good movie and give it a good score. No, that goes completely against my rhetoric. I gotta dig into my views and just keep going down into my echo chamber. So I decided to watch The Italian Job, and even though I did watch this movie, I could not tell you what happens in it. It's definitely a heist movie, and there's definitely a very unbelievable love interest. There's Ed Norton with like a weird goatee. That's all I remember. 2.5 stars. Week 13, we have a movie that came out the year I was born. Now, I was born in 1997, and unfortunately, I've seen a lot of movies from this year. We have Titanic, Men in Black, Event Horizon, George of the Jungle, Hercules. I just watched Batman and Robin the other week. A lot of options that are now off the table. I ended up landing with LA Confidential, honestly, because it just kept coming up on my Hulu, and I was like, yeah, sure, that works. It's a neo-noir crime film, and these take a little bit for me to get into. Like, I have to really be paying attention, and it's pretty good. I think the character work is really what makes this movie good. Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce's character, perfect foils for each other, and it's the best kind of movie because they're both so annoying in the beginning, and then by the end, they slightly become less annoying. That's my favorite type of character development. I'll give this one 4 stars. Week 14, I had to watch a movie that's been memed, and I don't know if anything has been more memed than the McLovin License. I had never seen Superbad. I don't know where I was, but apparently I was not going to the movies. I would have lost my mind if I was a teenager watching this. It is hilarious. Everyone in this movie is hilarious in a different way. I mean, the whole McLovin side quest deserves like a Medal of Honor from the president, because whoever wrote that was on next level geniusness. In my opinion, Bill Hader is probably the funniest person in this movie, even though he doesn't play such a large character. 4 stars. McLovin. Then week 15, I had to watch a movie from the 90s, and according to Letterboxd, the 90s are the decade that I rate the highest. Love a good 90s movie. I ended up choosing My Cousin Vinny because it's a classic that I'd never gotten a chance to watch. It's that perfect kind of 90s comedy that's just so simple. I mean, they really just don't make movies like this anymore. It's charming and endlessly quotable.
The defense is wrong.
Absolutely would recommend this one, 5 stars. For week 16, I had to watch a film that Harlan has rated 5 stars, and I ended up on Hot Rod. Harlan, I love that you made this 5 stars. I will say, if I had seen this movie at the ripe age at like 13 at a sleepover, I probably would have like peed my pants and rated it 5 stars. As a 26-year-old woman, not so much. I love Andy Samberg, and so I was excited for this one. I feel like the jokes did not land the way I thought they were going to, so it was a little hit or miss for me. I gave it 3 stars. I know somebody's gonna be furious with me in the comments. Week 17, I had to watch a movie based on a video game. I ended up going with Sonic the Hedgehog, and I am clearly not the prime audience for this. I'm a firm believer that a lot of kids' movies can be enjoyed by adults. Not this one. This was clearly just geared towards 6-year-olds. The only time a joke landed was when Jim Carrey was saying it. Maybe it's because I was more of a Pokemon girl growing up. I had no attachment here to Sonic. Sorry, James Marsden. I loved you in Jury Duty, but Ronald was right. This movie kind of sucks. And lastly, week 18, I had to watch a movie based on a comic. I ended up choosing Ghost Rider. Weirdly enough, just like Hot Rod, this is another movie about a stuntman grappling over his father's death. Weird that these two movies are so similar, yet so different. Really though, I don't know how a movie can be so cool, but also so lame at the same time. I would not say it's good. I gave it 2 stars. I would love to see this redone, like in a really dark format. There's so much devil and underworld and selling your soulness to this story that would be really cool on screen if it was made correctly. So those are the first 18 movies I watched during my weekly movie challenge. Kind of split it up into thirds. I'm excited to make another one of these videos for you guys in a couple months. Please, of course, like, comment, and subscribe so I know that you're enjoying this and I can make more of these videos.